Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday, and we're here for a very interesting stream this week. Sorry, I'm running a bit late. I've had a hectic few days. I'll tell you soon why. This today, I am joined by Sam from Life After Life ITC. Hello, Sam.
Hello, I hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, it's good to be on again.
It is good. We're waiting on Brett, but while we're waiting, let's do a bit of a roll call and say hello to everyone. Hello, Jackie Evelyn. Kim, hello, my sister. Mark and Annette Mystery Tours. David Dennis, hello. Pat Middleton. Carol, how is everybody? Daniel, hello. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about past lives, reincarnation, and soul family. This idea was kind of given to us by some of you guys last week, and I thought it was probably a stream that we haven't done for quite some time. So it's probably a good one to start touching on. Um, Sam's just organising her audio. There we go. I thought I'd lost you.
No, I just had to turn it off while I was moving it, or otherwise it'll make squeaky noises.
Oh, I get you. So to begin with, maybe Sam has a very interesting book that we might get her to share with us, and maybe tell us one of the stories that's in the book, if you wouldn't mind, Sam.
Yeah, I'm not a brilliant reader, but I did mark this piece out. The book is called "Return to Life" by Jim B. Tucker, a medical doctor, and the book is called "Return to Life: Extreme Cases of Children Who Remember Past Lives." So, past life isn't just investigated by mainstream science or people that are interested in the paranormal. It has been investigated by medical doctors as well. And here is the book. I don't know if it's a new publication because I got this one on Amazon secondhand. And I have a marker here. There's loads of markers actually by the previous owner. Um, and this part is pretty interesting. We all heard of cases of children remembering the lives of a past life,
Mm-hmm.
and then that information that the child gives, who shouldn't really know that information, uh, the information that is given is investigated, and a lot of times found out to be a true person, their previous name, what they did in life, what was their job, how did they die, and so on. So it's very very interesting. And we have people like Annabella Cardoso, who does ITC with radio and EVP, and she was asking the communicators, does past life or does reincarnation exist? And they basically says that only if there is no other choice. And there was other research done, and it's a common factor that with reincarnation, a lot of these cases involves a death, an unexpected death, a death before time, like a tragic accident or whatever.
Yeah.
So their time wasn't their time, and they come back in another physical body. But anyway, I'll try and read this little piece here. I'm not going to read it all, but it'll give you enough information to sort of have a conversation about. One of the cases we saw in Burma was an example of what Ian called, I don't know who Ian is because I'm in the middle of the book, called experimental birth markings, a practice I discussed in my first book. People in certain areas of Southeast Asia sometimes make a mark on a body after someone dies, with the hope that the deceased individual will take the mark to the next life. In that way, when a baby is born with a birthmark that matches it, people can identify the infant as the previous person coming back. Ian's studied 20 such cases, and Jurian and I found 18 more. I don't know who Jurian is. I'm in the middle of the book. Yin Yin was a little girl who was 7 years old when we met her. Her maternal grandmother had died of kidney disease 9 years before Yin Yin was born. An hour or two after she died, her daughter Yin Yin's aunt used soot to make two markings on her body. One was on the outside part of her leg, just above her ankle, and the other was on the inside part of her right leg, on the below her ankle. Several people saw her make the marks, including a neighbour we talked to. Yin Yin's mother did not see the marks, but knew her sister had made them. Before Yin Yin's mother became pregnant with her, she had 3 dreams in which Yin Yin's grandmother said she wanted to come live with her. In the dream, Yin Yin's mother initially said no, but her mother became more insistent with each suggestive dream until her mother relented, telling her, "As you wish." A month later, she became pregnant. During the pregnancy, she had carvings for tea and cake, Indian spice food, and milk. While she did go ahead. Basically, when Yin Yin was born, the soot marks on the grandmother's leg, two distinct marks, appeared as birthmarks on Yin Yin's body. And these marks that was put on the grandmother were not permanent marks; they were marks of soot. So this is, possibly the reason why these birthmarks appeared on the child is the intent more than anything else. I was sure that these experiments were permanent bruises or marks put on a body, but no, this was just soot from the fire, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So these marks actually appeared on the body of the granddaughter when she was born, which is kind of fascinating. Not only with one mark, but 2 marks.
That's crazy. Carol actually just said that all of the girls in her family have the same birthmark in the same place.
Yeah, it's very very unusual. When if you look into biology, we all, in some ways, we are the same, but in physical appearance, the genetic code changes every time somebody's born. So you're going to have a lot of differences on the outside, as in physical appearance. So to have a birthmark, from sister or brother, siblings, and that, the same birthmark is very, very unusual, and could answer could be associated with this particular case, you know.
Mm. I have no idea what to say now.
There has been other deformities or birthmarks from chest injuries, head injuries, etc. Where the child is saying that they were called such and such a person, and they got shot, or they were in a car accident, and they could explain the mark on their body and that. And it turns out that the person that they were talking about actually was a person, and they did die. And it's information that the child shouldn't know. A lot of these questions are asked to these kids that are not much older than infants, really.
Mm.
And the stories that the parents tell us that a lot of these stories happen just after they learn to talk. So where's the information coming from? And very often the information is absolutely correct.
Mm.
Which is a fascinating thing.
Yeah, Daniel said before, he raised an interesting question saying, how do we know that these children aren't actually psychic, like mediums? But mm, what do you think?
That I mean, that they could get mixed up, and it could come into their psychic that this person exists, and they come out with all that information. But I presume the people that are being investigating take that into account. But that is an interesting point. It's good to have that. Uh, you know, uh, the two sides to it. This is fascinating, but what about this? It's good to sort of question. But when it becomes more stronger when more and more cases are involved, and there has been many cases similar to this. Um, and I presume the people that are investigating the story, um, look into psychic ability, etc., etc. Very often, when a kid gets to a certain age, they absolutely stop telling these stories. You
Mm.
know, they stop talking about it. They just get on with their lives. It's just in the earlier years
Mm.
you get this information, and then sometimes they don't even remember, and maybe that they're supposed to get on with their life and stuff. you
Mm.
know Although there has been cases where people keep that memory, and swear to this day that they're possibly reincarnated from somebody else, and and the story continues out throughout their life. And in some ways, for children, it is good that they don't remember after a certain age, because the one thing in common with a lot of these cases is a lot of these cases are people that died in wars and horrific accidents, plane crashes. I've seen a documentary of a pilot who died, and this child was obsessed with planes and all the rest of it. you have to look after your own mental psyche as well. And if you're reliving a past life, you're not actually living your present life. So, in some ways, it's good that the information, disappears after a certain age. I think it was 7 or 8 years old. After that, the information is gone, and it's good for them because otherwise they're going to bring that traumatic event throughout their own present life.
Mm.
But yeah, but I mean, like kids that are barely able to draw or draw in these plane crashes or events where they died and stuff like that, and they're horrifying drawings, as crude as they are.
Mm.
But even the style of the drawings and stuff like that shows that they're only about 5 or 6 years old. You know, if that.
Daniel, he says, case studies need to be gathered for statistical comparison. Do they exceed normal probability? And this all sounds anecdotal. What value is there in anecdotal accounts? This is the thing with anything in the paranormal. I'm sure that there are books out there. I'm not sure if there's a book in regard to psychic phenomenon compared against past lives. I will look into that. But it's pretty much like anything in the world of the paranormal. We can research and research and research, but at the moment, there is really no black and white. Everything is in a grey area. And this is why all of us do this. We talk about it, we go out, we investigate, do things like that, because if we already had answers, there really wouldn't be much of a point of going in and trying to find answers if we already had them. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, the good thing about this is actually medical doctors study this. It's their field of death and life.
mm,
And they're actually they have been fascinated by certain cases that they start looking into this. So I mean, like they wouldn't waste their time on something that has so many false positives to it.
yeah.
And I mean, like they at the end of the day too, you know, uh, such people that are writing books and publishing these findings and that they don't want to put their careers on the line with something that turns out to be a complete and utter fraud. But if parents are feeding information to the kids to tell to the doctor, a kid's not going to remember everything they're told, because I mean, like a lot of these cases, they're very complex. There's a lot of information that they're going to have to remember, and I don't see a very young kid remembering everything they're told that they tell to the medical doctor. It's not going to happen. Like,
Mm.
do you
I
know the
remember,
whole a whole story of a previous case, the name of the person, how they died, what kind of aircraft they crashed in, what war they fought in, everything like that. I can't even. If somebody fed me that information, I'd probably leave out bits.
yeah, like there was a story that I saw a few years ago, and could be many years ago now, of a very young boy. And he was, I think, living in Iran or the region there somewhere. And he was talking about a past life. And so they actually had a news crew come in, or a documentary crew, and they filmed this young boy to make sure that he wasn't being fed information or anything. And they actually said to him, like, they got information to say that he's like, oh, I'm buried here, this was my name, this is where I lived, stuff like that. So they followed him around, they took him to the place, he took them right to the spot where this person was buried, they dug it up, found the body, all of this stuff. um, it's actually quite fascinating to watch. I'll have to find that series and share it with you guys. It's just one of the ones that kind of really fascinates me. Um, yeah, it's a very deep subject.
Yeah, I mean, like the kids are putting out on so much information that I can't see. Do you know if you us that has children, the kids come home from school, you know, mommy or daddy, I have to learn this play. Have to learn these lines for this play. Do you know how hard that is for a kid to learn a big load of lines if they've got a, if they're 5 or 6, the Christmas play or panto or whatever, having them to memorize all these lines, it's pretty difficult. And
Yeah.
the information that they're giving us is so much that it could not be rhymed off. It could not be, it could not be rehearsed. There's too much information there, like.
Not you, Kim. It was another Kim. Yeah, I'll have to find this. I'll have to find this documentary thing and share it with you, Daniel. Because if you watch it, like they follow this boy around, and um, it, it may have even have been that like no one knew where this person was, or there was no grave marked, and this kid knew exactly where they were buried, exactly where they lived. There was details that nobody knew that this child knew, kind of thing. So
Yeah, there's some of these cases where the child remembers a previous life, but it wasn't in the town that they were born in, and they were never in this other town. And then the parents, at some point, or an investigator, gets involved in the case, says, right, if this information is true, let's go to the place and let's look up, church records, and go into the library, get some information. And, there's been cases where these kids are flown to the place that they say that they were from. They've never been there, meeting people, relatives of their previous life, and they could tell the names of those people. They could tell the names, their nicknames, even. It's quite crazy, and even where they were buried, they could pinpoint the spot. They seem to have a familiarity with a place they've never been in physically. Do you know?
yeah,
I seen this documentary of this kid, and they go to meet this family, who are the family of the person that this child claims to be, and they could tell stories, and they could tell personal details of these people, that there was no physical way that he knew that the child knew these things. Yes, they were able to talk about stories of the past and stuff like that, and
mm,
that was convincing for these other people, the family of the person that passed away. It was convincing to them. At the same time, there is a lot of people that they claim to have a past life, but it always seems to be a famous person. That's when you start to ask questions, you know.
yeah. When it's always like Elvis or Marilyn Monroe, or it was Cleopatra, or some famous person in history, a king or
Yeah,
queen. Yeah,
yeah. But in most cases, you're talking about children that don't have a mind corrupted by adult things. Their mind is fresh. And it's to get that information before the information starts getting corrupted. You know.
yeah. Carol says, my husband was in his 30s when he past life regressed. He was such a naysayer and told me it wouldn't work as it was rubbish. He now knows differently. I've
Yeah.
never had a regression. I had the opportunity not so long ago. I just haven't followed it up yet. I probably should. So I'd love to have one done.
Yeah. Do you know, some people say, do you think you might have had a past life? And I'm thinking, possibly, but am I making it up in my head?
Mm,
Do you know that's a problem that I have
mm,
as an adult. If I was 5 or 6 years old. Yes, kids make up fantasy stuff and that, but not to this flipping level, like where the information that they actually give is absolutely, completely, and utterly accurate. The person that they're talking about did die in a certain way, and died at a certain age. Their mother's name was such and such, their father's name was such and such, and they lived in this village or town or whatever, and it turns out to be true. It's just, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I have absolutely no proof of this when I say this, but many years ago, when I started the whole YouTube thing, I went through a very difficult time in my life where everything kind of came together and I found peace. And at that time, I was meditating a lot and I kind of, I guess, went inside of myself to find what I love about me, about the world, about everything. And I delved into this stuff really deeply. And for a long time in between then to now, I'd kind of pulled away from that. And recently, I've been finding myself going back into the meditation and that side of things because everything got a little chaotic. And I'm kind of drawn back into it because, for instance, there are some people in your life, and it could be your father, your mother, it could be a best friend that you've had, where you feel like you've known them in another way, another time. And it's hard to explain unless you've felt that with someone. And it's just, it's almost like sometimes you feel in yourself too, like you've been somewhere and you know you haven't. Kind of
Yeah,
like a deja vu, but not. And you feel like an old soul. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Mm.
There's a very interesting channel that part of it would be related to this. It's a channel I posted a number of documentaries or lectures on my community tab. It's called Thinking Out Loud, but by Jeffrey Mitchlove. Jeffrey Mitchlove was a psychologist who was actually involved in the prison system, and he had a paranormal experience, and that changed his life forever. And now he talks about all of this. He talks about ITC, he talks about past life regression,
Mhm.
and he has guests on. And unlike some of us, where we would question things, he lets the person speak. He lets them present what they want to say and stuff like that. And I find some of that stuff really interesting. But I mean, like when it comes to sort of the paranormal community on the ghost hunting side, who sort of half kind of goes into research. It's no interest to them because it's sort of it's lectures. I enjoy the lectures. I mean, like, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but you can get an awful lot of information from that. And the more information you have, the better you sort of become to understand some of this. We're not going to understand all of it, but
Yeah, of course.
it's important to sort of know. You know, it's important to sort of know some of it. Sort of, if you're delving in, if you're interested in a certain subject, it's a good thing to study it. You know, I mean, like this information, this subject, you know, when we talk about this in comparison to does ghost exist, the ghost hunting side, the ghost hunting side is very often uh, studied and examined by people who are interested in. They're not qualified in a lot of things, some of them, and they are shooting in the dark. Very often we're not a science degree or anything like that, but they've got the interest to try and look into it. This subject right here has been studied by medical doctors. Mainstream science, maybe not so much, possibly, but the fact that we have medical doctors looking into this part of the paranormal, it's very, very interesting.
Definitely. I wish I still had that book from I can't even remember his name. I'd have to look it up. But I had a book from a doctor who was a psychologist, and he did, what's it called? Where you put people under.
Oh, past life regression, yeah.
No, hypnotism.
Oh, hypnotized, yeah.
Yeah, he was a hypnotist, and he used hypnotherapy to help people. And it was just by accident once when he was hypnotizing someone for therapy that they went back further than he wanted them to, and they went to a past life. And he's like, oh, this is interesting. So he started doing these past life regressions with patients, and some of them were really interesting. So,
Yeah.
thank you, Daniel.
Um,
It was hypnosis.
yeah, it can be clouded with imaginative memory as well. And that's why it's I think it's a little bit more difficult for with adults, information from adults, because you know yourself in the paranormal field itself, people come out with crazy stories to get attention for themselves. Kids aren't going to do that, so this part of it is very, very interesting, because it's not, kids don't know, at that very young age, to get attention in that sort of way, where adults will manipulate people to do that.
Yeah.
And we have that all the time in the paranormal space on YouTube, but with this subject, it doesn't happen.
Yep. Just had to close that. Thank you, Kim. Please hit that like button. Remember, if anyone wants to come up, you're more than welcome to. I don't think Brett's going to come tonight. He hasn't even seen his link or anything, so.
Yeah, if I can't make it, I'll if this is a week I can't make it, I'll let you know. In
Yeah,
advance.
I appreciate that. Be our guest. Be our guest. um, Past lives reincarnation. Why do I find that word so hard to say? Every time I hear reincarnation, I think of carnation milk.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hypnosis is subject to confabulation. Everything is, it has its good and bad. I mean, um, you're not going to know with 100% certainty anything. Like me, there's someone on Facebook today was asking about yowies in Australia, which is an Australian Bigfoot, more or less. And I said, oh, yes, up in the hills near where I live in the Snowy Mountains region of New South Wales, people have seen yowies quite often. I don't have
yeah,
proof of that, but,
yeah. Another part of this is people in even adults. They arrive at a house, they're invited for some odd reason, I don't know. They arrive in at the house and they immediately know exactly where all the rooms are, what's in those rooms, and it's a familiar place to them, even though they've never been there.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was in a dungeon with my guild. I was at the bottom of the spider dungeon, and I was the healer, so I couldn't leave. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Oh, say that
So
again.
we're actually talking about past lives and reincarnation and soul family.
Okay, just bear with me a second. I'm sorting myself out here.
That's all right. Go for it.
Okay, it's right. I'm just going to grab in the chat so I can see what everybody's saying. Okay, I'm ready.
That was quick. Tracy says exactly. We may not have proof, however, does that mean it does not exist? I believe it does not mean it does not exist. We're still looking into these kinds of things.
And the fact that we have medical doctors looking into it's a promising sign. You know,
Mm,
that
exactly.
we have medical doctors involved in this research. It's pretty fascinating because people that are interested, yes, they will try and look into it the best they can. But the fact it is involved with life and death, and medical doctors experience certain things that some of these people they grow an interest and they want to know more and more and more, and then they get involved in the research, and some of the stuff that they've uncovered is pretty fascinating. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually a really famous case of out of the body experiences that got a doctor involved in things like reincarnation and stuff. And apparently, he had a patient that was rushed in. I believe they'd had a heart attack. I believe, and were unconscious when they were rushed into the hospital. They were rushed straight into a treatment room, and apparently, this patient had an out of body experience while they were in the emergency room after the heart attack, and they apparently floated out their body, went out the window for some odd reason, floated round the side of the building, and noticed an old trainer on a ledge
That's right.
outside one of the windows. And
Yeah.
when they returned back to their body, they actually told this doctor, that they'd left the body and gone for a whiz round the outside of the hospital. Mentioned this trainer on the ledge. The doctor went to the window that the patient described, and lo and behold, found the trainer on the outside ledge,
In
outside the
fact,
window.
in fact, I think the trainer was very hard to see.
Yeah, it
You know,
was.
I think there was frosted glass involved or whatever. It was
Yeah,
on this ledge. There was no sort of way that it could be sort of seen, and they actually saw it. And there was actually, I don't know if it's the same case, but there was something on top of a wardrobe.
yeah. That was another thing I
Yeah.
Yeah,
referred to.
yeah.
On top of a cabinet in the treatment room, and
Yep.
he also actually discussed the conversations that the medical staff were having about them, because they thought this guy was going to die. His heart attack was that bad, and they were discussing his condition in just outside the room, and apparently he hovered above them and listened to the conversation. When he came round and mentioned this thing about the shoe and the what's it, he also mentioned the conversation. But not only did he mention the conversation, he mentioned the medical terms that they'd used, which apparently, Joe Blogs wouldn't have even known.
Wow. I actually just read that story on, I think it was on Facebook over the last couple of days. It was circulating. And yeah, it fascinated me.
Which one? The one about the trainer?
No, the one about the thing on top of
Yeah,
the cupboard. Yeah.
yeah. There's quite a few famous ones, but I think the trainer and the one with the cabinet are the two most famous ones in hospital. But there are hundreds and hundreds of reports of that happening in hospitals.
Yeah, there could be some sort of connection, just similar to some of the cases where people get a transplant, when they, when they come around, they all of a sudden have a different taste in food. They have a different interest in their, in their life. They picked up a hobby that they never
Yeah.
would have and some actually have picked up languages that they've never learned.
Yeah,
You know.
there was a very famous case of that, of a guy who was in a coma for quite a few months, from what I remember. And when he came round, and I believe it was in America, he couldn't actually speak English anymore. He spoke fluent Italian instead.
Yeah. And it's all linked to the human consciousness in some sort of way. You know.
Yeah. Right, I'm just going to make me a coffee because I literally haven't even had a chance to have a coffee this morning. I was literally dragged in a dungeon as soon as I got up. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, not a problem. Deidre, I remember around age 9 to 10, I saw these two very large, rotty, but looked like Doberman build. Skin was peeling off. They were covered in blood and had red eyes. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a lot of stories about
Yeah.
hellhounds and all those
Yeah.
kinds of things. I actually had a recent conversation with someone about, um, you know, demonic beings, and I've always said that um, I can't say that I believe in them. And the reason I can't say is because I've never experienced it. And I'm one of those people that's like, seem to believing, make me believe it. I in one hand, it's like, well, if they are real, if they do exist, as people say that they do, I don't want to experience it. But the other hand is telling me, well, you're going to have to experience that to, or see it to believe it, kind of thing. So it's like a catch 22.
Yeah. We've been in a place called Sharon Rectory a couple of times. It's a family home that was restored, and it used to be a rectory and stuff. And one of the stories was that there was this demon dog, a black demon dog, and I'm thinking, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now I took the information with a pinch of salt, but when I was down in the basement, I picked up this EVP of a dog growling and barking and that. And this house, the neighbouring houses is so far away, and to take into account we're actually under the house, under a big house. These people didn't have dogs, they loved cats. They had cats but no dogs. And it's about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm finished these investigations, and I'm home, and I can't go to bed at that hour. I have to look at some of the footage before I go to bed,
Mhm.
and I picked up this EVP while I'm going through some of the footage and that, and the next day I go out and I drive to the area again. I don't go into the garden. I'm out on the road and I'm driving around, stopping in certain spots. And it turns out the neighbours don't have dogs. Seem to have dogs. It's just I don't know where this growling and barking came from. You know. So it could be a thing. Apparently, this dog went through the gate without, which it was physically impossible to do because the bars are too close together, kind of thing. But apparently, we picked up something that we can't explain, and we looked into the environment, how far the nearest house was. It was too far, and even if there was a dog outside a house, there was no way that we were going to be able to hear it being underground on top of a house. It just, there's fields all around. It's not something that was physically possible. And I was scratching my head for weeks, and I was going back to this scene. Maybe there's a dog there, and I was like a dog with a bone. I couldn't let this go, and I've never solved it. I've never sold it, and the family definitely don't have a dog. They didn't have a dog hidden away or anything like that because we've been there a number of times.
Here's a question for you and for everyone in chat. If there is such a thing as a hellhound, without going into the Hollywood side of things, why, I can hear Brett laughing, why do you think hellhounds come into our existence? What brings them in? If they were real, what would bring them in, do you think? Hi, Tara. Hi, Robert.
I don't know. I mean, there's a possibility that these could come in from previous historic stories and possibly fiction. There was one case of sort of psychic ability and stuff like that in our parents' living memory, and that was a guy called Padre Pio. And he experienced one of these hounds, which he called a hellhound. Whether it was a hellhound or not, don't know. But other people experiencing it. It's steeped in folklore here in Ireland and that, and sometimes the fiction gets caught up with the reality. So I don't know. I don't know. One famous location in Ireland is actually it's in Dublin. It was it was some sort of satanic kind of a place on top of a hill. Apparently, this dog is seen there and stuff, but it's hard to know.
Do you think there's a possibility it could be in the cryptid family more than in the demonic family?
We can't rule out any possibility,
There's a
really.
good
No.
possibility it's in the elemental family.
That's what I was thinking, like the elemental cryptid, you know.
The elemental side of things has actually got a number of dogs, barghasts, and various type of what people would consider air quotes hellhounds.
Hmm.
But
Even
go on, Sam.
sorry, even people in ITC from a way back, believe that yes, there's this other dimension, but it's not just spirits of dead people. There's other creatures as well.
Because for me, you got to ask yourself, hell's supposed to be for naughty souls, right? What possible use would a hellhound be in that respect?
Welcome back.
What would their job actually be?
Yeah, but if hell exists, where does that information come from? Did it come from the Bible?
Exactly.
Bible's not a scientific document. I'm a Christian myself, but we have to still look at facts here.
Yeah, that's my
We
point, Sam. If you go on the Bible's description of what hell is and what it's used for, what possible use would there be for hellhounds wandering around in the mortal plane?
on
Because they can't corrupt souls or anything. So what, what,
No,
what would their possible use be?
well, Deidre said they're pending death or possibly a tragic event, but what about those people who have seen them that haven't had, a death or some kind of a tragic event? What if it's just like, wow, that really scared the shit out of me, but nothing bad has happened? So if that's the case, it would have to be for some other reason, you would think. Or is it a combination?
Yeah, in Ireland it's kind of on the same level as the banshee, which I'm kind of skeptical of as well. But when we look into the possibility of a hellhound, um, our because we don't know very much about it, our imagination creeps in there a little bit as well. So you've got these other stories that starts creeping into the brain, and we look at what the possibility is, and very often, because it's black and it's got red eyes, it's some sort of an evil being, which may or may not be true. You know?
See, this is the point, Sam. A barghast, which is an elemental, is basically described as a large black dog with glowing red eyes, right?
Yeah.
But they've got no association with hell whatsoever. None. Zero zip.
Yeah, you have to sort of take what it is as is, kind of thing. And as I said to Julie, I was told this story from an area that a place that I investigated myself, and I says, "Oh God, no!" I kind of went right. They're telling me this, that there's a presence of a black dog around the area and stuff like that, and I'm going, it sounds a little bit far fetched, but I'll be the judge of that sort of thing, even though I'm only going to be here for a few hours. And later on, in one of the investigations, we pick up the sound of a dog. And that night, I went through the footage before I even went to bed. This was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't let it go for weeks afterwards. I ended up going back and driving around the area, finding out if people had dogs, and there was no possibility that we were able to pick that up, because we were underground and we were under a big massive house, and the neighbouring houses were too flipping far away, and even if they'd had dogs, there was no way I was going to be able to hear them underground on top of a house.
Yep, that's a barghast.
So you guys know what it looks like. I would love to have a conversation with you sometime, Beck. Drop your channel links. Everything's gone quiet. Crickets are sounding in the background. Hey, Seago!
Hi, Seager.
So, Brett, let
Mm-hmm.
me pick your mind. We were discuss before you came in. We were discussing like past lives and reincarnation and that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's your take on it? We discussed some of the stories of children who have.
Yeah, that is personally, I do believe in reincarnation. Um,
Mhm.
I think the cases regarding the kids are the ones that are the most compelling, because a lot of them, especially in the eastern countries like India and Pakistan and places like that, where reincarnation is more accepted in the religion and stuff, it's more openly discussed. And there are, if you look into the reincarnation cases that come out of India, some of them are absolutely fascinating. You've got kids now. Bear in mind, we're talking about really remote Indian villages. They they never leave their village. These people, so they're not aware of what's going on in the outer world as such. And they suddenly start, from the moment they start talking, they start telling the parents that they used to live 50, 100 miles away with another family, and that the family they're with now is not their real family. And these kids have actually been taken to the villages they claim they're from. Some of them have
Mm.
actually greeted old family members, husbands, wives, mothers, daughters, uncles, whatever, with family nicknames, with pet nicknames that this dead person used. There's one really interesting case I read of a young girl who was taken back to the family she claimed she was from. She actually walked into the house, walked into a particular room, lifted up a floorboard, and pulled out a little tin with treasures in it that were like her valuables that she used to keep when she was
Oh
in the
wow.
previous life and stuff. So personally, I do believe it happens. I think it's the way that us as souls, if for want of a better term, actually progress. I think we come back time and time again to learn various lessons.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing earlier. Sam was reading us a story or two about this and was saying, it's when you have a child that is, there's one that I saw that was followed around by a TV crew because they were doing like a documentary on it. And for a child to, even if someone says, oh, but they were fed this story by their parents, for them to remember as much information as that, I mean, it would be impossible for a child of that age to remember that much information and not slip up somewhere. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, to me, it's undeniable. Hi,
yeah,
Abraxas.
It's very, you know, Brett has just come out with what we were actually discussing before Brett came on. About these children, as we says, it's very hard even to get them to learn lines for their Christmas panto.
yeah.
To come out with the information that they have is very, very strange. You know.
And a lot of these cases in India, that you're talking kids that are, start doing it from the age of 2 when they start speaking, and you've had 3 and 4 year olds taken to villages that nobody in their own village had ever even been to. They've greeted their
Yeah.
husbands and the wives and the past family literally with pet nicknames that they used in
That's
the
that's
previous life.
yeah. That's exactly what we were saying earlier on. You know,
Mm.
and you know, I mean, like you see documentaries on it, and some of it is kind of like hyped up and that, but you know, um, some of the drawings that they start doing, that they get obsessed with, like little stick figures and the house going on fire, and they're doing these in school, and the teachers are getting concerned because they're drawing these really horrific things and airplanes on fire and stuff like that, and the teachers are, they get concerned, and they're telling the parents, like, listen, your kid is doing these paintings or something. There's something wrong here. You know,
Can,
people
can I,
are.
sorry, Sam.
Go
Can I
ahead.
just put in? Can you tell me, Beck, what actually qualifies you to be a demonologist? Because you get all these people on YouTube claiming they're demonologists, and blah, 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 blah. I'd like to know what actually qualifies somebody as a demonologist. Right, I'm just waiting for the response in chat.
Don't poke the bear, Brett.
No, I'm just interested, because you get reams of people that they sit there, they claim they're mediums, they claim they're this, they claim they're that, and demonologist it seems to be the recent one, and I'd just like to know
Yeah.
what it is that actually qualifies somebody to claim to be a demonologist.
I think I'm not going to say it. I think there's a certain organization that you go through to be a demonologist, but I'm not going to say it right now. You know, but
Is it
yeah.
through the church, is it?
I was going to keep that under my. I was going to keep that card face down, but yeah, the Catholic
Yeah,
Church. Yeah. Do you know? The Warrens. Ed Warren was a self-proclaimed demonologist, as far as everybody knows, which isn't. You know what I mean? It's self-proclaimed and a demonologist officially is kind of two different things.
yeah.
Some people like the fancy name and all the rest of it. I kind of, stopped giving, demonology attention because I focus on other things, kind of thing. So I don't look into it that often anymore.
Hmm.
It's always fascinated me and don't take this the wrong way and don't think I'm a demon loving freak or like anything else. People out there, but The world of the demonic has always fascinated me because I have a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of stuff that people claim to be real or claim to have seen or experienced or whatever else. And I don't discredit their experiences because I wasn't there. But I have a lot of questions.
Right, Beck says Lucifer taught me about demons. Okay. And I figure if anyone knows about them, it's in Shrug. How do you? What proof have you got that you spoke to Lucifer? Because you're basically claiming you've been schooled by the counterpart of God.
We got to remember too what I said earlier on. A lot of this links back to biblical scriptures, and as we know, we can't ask authors of these scriptures, and it's not a scientific document in any way. And the scientific community will constantly say that the Bible is not a scientific document. So this idea of heaven and hell, we as Christians, we can believe it in that, but belief is not proof. And
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm not putting down the Bible or anything like that. People can believe what they want, but when it comes to the paranormal, there's a fine balance between spirituality and science, which science don't really want to get involved because there's a bit of spirituality, and they say it's be outside of science and that.
Yeah.
But
No offense to Beck, but I have got a massive amount of skepticism for people who claim to have a direct phone line to Satan. I'm sorry, but I just do.
yeah,
What did Dedra say? There was a story about a little boy that as soon as he could talk, would tell his mum, "Little man on fire." He said what his name was. There's a lot of cases like that, Dedra. There's an awful lot of cases where kids have claimed to be in wars and all sorts in a previous life.
I seen that documentary, and that kid was actually freaking his teachers out and freaking his parents out with these fridge drawings of airplanes going on fire. Yeah, and it's painting and drawing is a good way of looking into the mind. I actually was involved in I was part of a school that specifically done art, as in art therapy for mental health, people with mental health difficulties. And throughout my time there, I was actually looking at other people's paintings and other people's drawings, and there was one particular guy who was drawing these demon dogs and very horrific, sharp lines, fiery, hellish kind of paintings. And by the time he had done his time there, he was drawing pictures of farms, sheep, cows in a field and stuff like that. And actually, that is his background. He's a farmer. So he's gone from his demonic, and the lines were more smooth. The pencil lines.
Yeah.
You see a lot of sharpness. There's aggravation there and stuff like that. So I kind of picked up things from the teacher, and I was able to pick them up myself, and what kind of a state of mind these people were in. But the teacher was fantastic at doing that. I still friends to him to this day. But art was a great way of looking into the mind, and some of the stuff I've seen was horrific. In the line of a picture of the mind, and that's how they do it. Do what yeah, there is a structure to it. Sometimes you're asked to do certain things, but sometimes a lot of the time you're asked to do what you feel is you want to do.
Yeah.
And you can't picture a person's mind. The only way you can do that is get them to paint, get them to draw, and with kids, they're not polluted by adult indoctrination at that point at 4, 5, or 6, and so when they're doing paintings, it's a picture into that person's brain and mind.
The thing you've got to be careful with things concerning hell and stuff like that is mental illness, because it is quite common for people with things like schizophrenia and stuff like that to experience these kinds of um, negative imagery, shall we say. What is interesting to note, though, is a lot of the times it does seem to run parallel to what the version of hell and evil that Hollywood likes to portray.
I'd like to say that when I do sessions, I do ITC sessions and stuff. When I'm not feeling the best, sometimes I still do a session because I want to keep up doing sessions and that. And all of a sudden, things start getting negative. You get the swear words, you get the communicators saying that they're demons and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of connect that with me not being 100% well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm not at myself. I'm a bit stressed. I'm a bit worried. I've got I've got stresses, and that's when I decide I'm going to give myself a break and come back when I'm better. And somebody actually reached out to me with a similar thing. I'm new to ITC and I'm getting called names, and there's people claiming to be the devil and demons and stuff like that. And other people pick up the same thing and they say, "Oh, that's brilliant," because you don't hear those kind of words on the radio and stuff like that. I says, just to be sure, just cut the communication, just leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody's claiming to be devil, we can't flip and prove it. So just, I wouldn't,
Yeah.
you get these.
See that claim, Sam, about devil and demon not being mentioned on the radio? Those words have been mentioned quite a lot on the radio.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
but
in English language.
I mean, like vulgar language and talking about
Yeah.
breaching broadcasting regulations and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And,
I've got no doubt there are negative things out there. I
you know,
personally don't believe they're the biblical version of them.
and you get this change of tone that's outside
Yeah.
the normal scan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But people say, "Oh, I want to get them." That's brilliant. Spur communication. Hi guys, look at me. I go, no, don't go down that route, just to be sure, because anytime I've done a session where I've had some sort of worry in the background, um, I'm getting these curse words and stuff like that, and I'd say, well, that's an indication to take a break for a while, and that's why I haven't done a session in a couple of days, because I've other things that been on my mind this week and
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah. I do believe things like that, Sam. State of mind and stuff plays a massive part in it. And I think, if you're feeling negative at any time, you're going to attract negativity. Same with if you're feeling positive, you've got more chance
yeah,
of attracting positive stuff.
that's exactly
I do believe that.
yeah, that's putting it in a better way, actually. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I've lost my train of thought there. What I was about to say.
You're trying
Oh,
to
right.
thought.
Yeah. This there's this an attack. Now I can't say it's a demonic attack. I've got no evidence whatsoever. But myself and a friend, we used to belong to the Christian church and stuff like that, and we had holy books and all that kind of stuff. And we were at this fair. It was a spiritual fair. Now, amongst us, there was, card readers, psychic.
I'm just picturing you dressed as a nun. Sorry, carry on.
we had all these people in this function room of a hotel, right? And you had card readers, psychics, and all this kind of stuff. Now my friend was going, "Oh, these other people are from the devil kind of thing. It's not good to do these things, and we have a spiritual battle going on." Now I know different. She possibly knows different now too.
Hmm.
But Friday everything went grand. Saturday morning, I woke up and I was the most aggravated for no apparent reason. I
Yeah.
even, I even got into an argument with my friend at the time, and we got into a heated argument on the way to the place. And I, to this day, don't know what caused that, but it was my aggravation. I was thick as a bull that day,
Yeah.
and we went in and we got our stall sorted out again. And my friend got sick of me at one point. She says I need to go for a walk, so she was going around these other people's stalls and stuff like that. So I was minding the stall. Next thing, I get this pressure in my head. Everything's starting to. It's like I was in a bubble and this bubble is moving and stuff like that. And I was feeling there was something going badly wrong. I said, and starting to feel dizzy and everything. And next thing in the corner was this black kind of cloud.
Hmm.
And I didn't know what to do. And I was starting to pray and I was saying, please go away. And things were just getting worse in my head and everything. And the cloud was right behind this person that was doing tarot readings. They had a candle, a little candle in the a tea candle on a blue tablecloth. And nice thing is, the pressure was getting worse and worse and worse, and I was saying, "Please, God, get this off me, whatever it is." Next thing, the candle explodes. It was like a big rope of flame came off this candle, and it burnt the tablecloth, and then it went. And then next thing, I had such a relief that I just almost fainted. Now I can't say that I was demonic. It was some sort of attack, but I can't say it was a demonic attack because I don't have any physical evidence of that. But I was attacked by something.
Mm.
Do you
See,
know?
this is why I never use demon attack. I would always say
Yeah,
attack by something negative because that's what it was.
Well, what if there
yeah,
was a spirit that was a living person that died before
Yeah.
their time, and
Yeah.
they were stuck here because they were trying to find another body to go back into? What if
Yeah.
it was something like that? Even, yeah,
Yeah. That's just
yeah,
negative. That doesn't make them a demon.
yeah.
It
no,
could be okay for fun.
It was extremely negative, but we
mm,
can't put a label on it
Yeah.
because if we go back and start putting labels on it, we would put a label on it or as a demonic attack, which is linked to biblical scripture, which isn't a scientific document.
Yeah.
So, to keep a level head, it was an attack of some sort, which was a negative attack, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Do
But
you know?
the reason a lot of people use things like demonic attack and demon and stuff like that is the psychological side of things because
Yeah,
it is ingrained into people that angels are good, demons are terrifying and bad. It has a psychological effect on people. So it's basically like a psychological jump scare. And this is why a lot of people, especially on YouTube and stuff like that, love to ban demon around and demonic and that kind of thing because it plays right into the psychological mindset they are trying to portray.
yeah,
And that is what I always say. Refer to never say it's a demon because you've got no proof it's a demon. You're basically labeling it from a religion, and it's not the only religion out there. Should we start calling them all jinns instead of demons? That kind of thing. Because
well,
that could be exactly the same thing. But I always say to people, if you have a negative experience, describe it as either a negative occurrence or a negative entity. Don't brand it a demon. You've got absolutely no proof it's a demon. There's no proof there are demons. Sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox. But this
Yeah,
is one subject that really winds me up, as you can probably tell by the sound of my voice.
yeah. I mean, like when you look at the other side of it, I even cut out the label of spirits because
Yeah,
you see a lot of people that will try and do this communication and say, I want to reach out to the spirits. Now these communicators on the other side might go, oh, not one of these again. Why does it keep calling us spirits? Hello, human being. How are you doing today? How good does that sound? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
We don't label each other like that. Hello, fellow human beings. How are we all today? And we're actually doing that to the communication side, to the communicators in ITC. I want to reach out to all the spirits tonight, and do they really want to be called spirits?
yeah,
You know, I just let the communicators define themselves.
yeah.
Not that I'm putting down the spiritual aspect of it, and I kind of walked away from being sort of spiritual in my communication and stuff. Maybe I don't know. Maybe is that a link to it? I don't know. I don't know. I try to be more blunt and scientific, and maybe that's not the right way to look at it either. Like, more sort of being more logical. And I'm trying to be as logical as possible because I see a load of bullshit on YouTube and that. But am I going too far in being very clinical in the communication? I'm communicating with an unknown source, and I'm not calling them spirits, and I'm not.
That is a natural way to do it anyway, Sam. Because if you think about it, if you meet somebody for the first time, you're not over friendly with them. You're very
Yeah,
formal with them. So that is the ideal way of doing it. You start it off formal.
I just let them define themselves, kind of
Hmm.
thing. Even though sometimes they define themselves as
You
demons
know, it,
and
it could
blah blah.
quite easily turn out to be that they are dead people, but there's no guarantees that they are, and people shouldn't make that assumption.
Well, I think people make that assumption based on previous research from proper
Hmm.
ITC people and paranormal
The
investigators. The
other thing,
proper.
the other thing that fascinates me about ITC and stuff like that, when a lot of people do it, and it's not everybody, but it's a fair majority of them. They sit there and they do a session and they get communication, and they take everything that comes through that communication as gospel. Everything that's told to them is instantly believed. Oh, I'm an angel. They instantly believe they're an angel. Yeah, if they
This,
did that in real life with a person, it would be a totally different way of interpreting that. People start to think, oh, they're crazy.
yeah, this rattles the other. There's another part of ITC community that don't like what we're doing, kind of thing. They say yes, it's possible, but because you're using snippets of radio, you've actually contaminated your evidence. You cannot present this to the scientific community. You need to be on a static station. You need to let the communicators. Anything that comes through will be guaranteed communication because you haven't used snippets of radio to get
No,
that
that ain't
communication.
what I was getting at, Sam. They get a communication through the spirit box. Now we'll presume it's a genuine communication, right?
Yeah,
They take whatever they've been told in that communication as gospel. Like Mother Teresa is sitting the other side of the box relaying everything to them.
yeah.
There is absolutely no guarantee that what you're getting through the box is truthful, even if it's genuine communication.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, like,
it's always it does fascinate me when you watch a lot of people and they do any kind, be it, Ouija board, anything like that. And I'm a big advocate of the Ouija board. They take what they are told to be the God's honest gospel truth. When
yeah.
they don't even know what they're talking to. They could be talking to the universe's biggest liar for all they know. And it just seems really odd that people in everyday conversations are very reserved and very intuitive about what they believe and what they don't. Yet the second it comes to any kind of paranormal communication, they automatically assume it's coming direct from Mother Teresa. And that always
We,
fascinates me.
the one element from all of that is the absence of visual evidence, which sort of leads me down the path of, yeah, well, you said this, but I'm
Hmm.
going to
Yeah.
ask more questions. I'm going to ask more questions
Hmm.
to see will you answer them, and
Yeah.
does that link with when it comes to questions, ask a question. If you get an answer, I asked before, can you see me? And next thing, the radio changes tone and went, we can see you. And I go, wow, wow. That wasn't enough for me. I just said, right, it was one of the few times I've heard things in real time. And
Yeah.
then what I said, right, if you can see me, what's beside me? And they went, dog. And I go, whoa. You've
Yeah,
got
but
two
when you get
questions
in,
there.
that is the kind of intelligent responses you want because
Mm.
you're asking a question and you're getting an instant response, or a response directly related to what you've asked. Now, to me, that is the most convincing of evidence. But when you get people who sit there and they go, uh, "Is there any?" They normally start off with the normal. Is there any spirits there who want to talk? That's in some variation. Straight away, presuming they're talking to dead people. Then they get a response through the spirit box, which might be Tuesday. And then they totally forget all about the question they've just asked and then try and make the response. They then start fitting their narrative around what the box has just spit out. So they start talking something about Tuesday. And then they ask a question regarding Tuesday, and then it spits out something, say, like blizzard, totally unrelated. And then they'll start talking about snow, and then at the end of it, they'll go, "Well, that was brilliant communication, proof, blah 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 blah." And it's like, no, it isn't. You're just responding to random responses and making the narrative fit, whereas you do it the opposite way.
Yeah, way back in the beginning, I was at this workhouse, this poorhouse, and it's got a history, a really bad history, of deaths and stuff like that. And I have the spirit box, and there's people around, so I have to set up in a different kind of way, which is connect the
Okay.
headphones to the spirit box, and then the cameras. There was two microphones, lapel microphones, two of them connected together, connected to the camera. One was on my shirt, and the other one was put inside the headphones, so
Yeah.
that the audio from the spirit box, so I can walk around and I can walk past people, and the spirit box on, they have they're none the wiser. And this was during the day, and I walked around the back of this place, and next thing, I was murdered, and I'm going, holy shit! I'm going, and then I'm thinking, where in the English language would that be appropriate, like kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I still had the inside to say, well, are they trying to scare me, or was this actually true? And if I look into history, and there's a possibility that people were killed. People did starve to death. People, there was a lot of deaths.
Yeah, they were murdered in
But
the houses. There's no doubt about it.
but would I be jumping to conclusions to link that information to the communication?
Hmm.
There was, there was no 100% proof of that. There's no 100% proof that this communicator was trying to scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
So
this is the thing, Sam. You had the pretence of mind to think, is this truth or is it just trying to frighten me? Even if it's genuine communication, you then have to take it the step further and question what they're actually telling you. Because you can't just presume what comes through that radio is the gospel truth. They could be
I
lying
may,
to people.
at the time I might have presumed something, you
Yeah,
know. But when you start looking into all of this and you start getting used to the way that you work and that,
yeah,
you start changing in attitude in some sort of ways, and you can look back on that and say, well, I made a mistake in assuming that.
Mm.
But your attitude changes as you grow with this. Do you know? And I think the important thing is not to jump to conclusions, because if you don't have 100% concrete proof that can't be falsified. If you can prove that this cannot be falsified, then you have 100% proof. But because you have no visual perspective of the communicator, that 100% proof can't happen. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'll tell you something. When I shuffle off my mortal coil, I'm going to stalk all these big paranormal channels, and I'm going to come through their spirit boxes every time, and I'm going to pick a random demon every time and claim to be them, and have the biggest time of my death, not my life.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to confess, and this is going back, what, a year now? We actually did a stream where we had the spirit box going,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a member or two sit in the chat
Mm-hmm.
and pop random words into the chat that they claimed that they were hearing, and there were certain people who aren't here now, mind
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, I
but
remember it well.
there were certain people who were putting the same word that certain people were using in the chat, even though they weren't heard. Um, so it just goes to show that sometimes what you're hearing may not be, well, what you're seeing in regard to, this is why in some places, unless I'm very sure I've heard something, I've stopped putting words on the screen and that, because I could put something up there and everyone will believe it.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Except maybe
yeah,
a couple.
yeah.
I I I don't put because of the power of suggestion. I just do the session. Now it's going to be hard work to go through that session and that's why I don't get views. People want things handed on a plate to them. They want your belief, what you heard, and that, which could be flipping wrong. And that's why, if you are going to put a subtitle on your sessions and that, always put a question mark at the end of it. That means you don't claim something that could be could be mistaken. It could be a radio broadcast. After all, this method, this scanning method, isn't. It's prone to pareidolia. It actually is, and I've given up listening to a lot of other people's sessions, and I don't get involved in the chats a lot. I come in and I say hello, and then I sit back and watch. But what I see a lot of people are putting up the radio broadcast as communication. It's got nothing to do with the question that was asked, or nothing to do with the
Here's something
communicator.
for you, Julie, to do next week on the chat, right? During the
What's that?
week,
Sorry.
during the week, right? Set your PSB 7 up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Record a session of it, right? Chop the responses up you get into single words, okay? Using Audacity or whatever. And next week, play 10 words on this channel. Don't tell people what you think it is, and get them to type in the channel what you think they've heard. And then we'll
Yeah, that's a good experiment.
and then we'll see how many variations of a single response from a spirit box you'll get. And this leads on to another thing I believe could occur. I honestly believe that when certain things come through the spirit box, they are only meant for certain people to hear, and certain people will hear it one way, and certain people will hear something else.
Hmm.
Funny you
Yeah.
come up with that because I had a response, I can't remember what it was, a couple of weeks ago, where I should have heard it. It was as clear as day, but I actually missed it. And I
Hmm.
had my headphones on.
Yeah,
Do you know? Oh,
yeah.
I know what it was now. If anybody is here to communicate that can communicate with me today, could you say hi, Sam, if you can hear me right now? And then next thing you go, fuck off.
Hmm.
You know? And it was really, really clear. And I missed it. And I'm carrying on and stuff like that. I didn't address the, the somebody being a bit angry or whatever, and I sort of question when anger comes over the spurt box in that kind of way. Is it that I'm asking questions and they're asking questions and I'm missing their question and I'm being a douchebag and carrying on with my agenda of questions when they are trying to talk to me in a certain way and I'm
Yeah,
no ignoring their communication.
yeah.
Am I pissing? Am I annoying these communicators? That's a question I sometimes ask.
Mm.
Because even experienced ITC researchers say they miss 75% of what is coming through in real time. The other question I started to ask is, was that a sort of an EVP where I didn't hear it in real time, but I heard it in recording. It didn't manifest until it was played back and recorded. It didn't process at the time.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. That's why the times I've done the sessions and recorded them and gone back on them. Every time I go back and listen to them, you hear something new. Every single time, you can guarantee you'll hear something new.
Mm.
Yeah. The
I mean, I was guilty of that, like especially in the beginning, sitting
Everybody,
down and
everybody does it in the beginning, Julie. Everybody, I don't care
yeah,
who they are. Everybody does it.
Do you
yeah,
know a lot of the pareidolia can be eliminated with DRV, direct radio voice,
Yeah,
but it's an absolute pain in the ass. It takes a lot of time, and what you have to do is you have to get that recording, which is just static from the radio. You're having this conversation. You're not necessarily hearing anything back. Then you have to go into Audacity, and then you have to go through every single thing. So if you're doing a session for a half an hour, that's about 10 hours work. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, depending on the noise, the level of noise, if it's not loud enough, the voices can come through very low, and it's very hard to get them out. You
yeah.
know. But it does eliminate pareidolia when you don't have the pollution of human voices. But it's extremely hard. I want to get
I
back
don't
into
think
it.
I don't think you can ever fully eliminate pareidolia. It cuts it
Yeah,
down, but I don't think you can ever fully eliminate pareidolia because, like I say, if we do that experiment next week, Julie, I'll guarantee it. Even if you just use white noise, people will hear different things coming out of that white noise that other people don't hear.
yeah,
oh, absolutely. Back when me and Fee used to do videos together, I
Hmm.
used to help her with her editing. So she
Hmm.
would send over her sessions, and I would sit down and I would do the little thing, where you write down what you hear and that, and then I would send it back to her, and like probably 80% of what I heard, she would hear something completely different. So it just goes to show.
that's why I just do the session, put it up. What's there is there, folks, and
Yep.
I don't make a song and dance about some of the stuff that I've heard. But you will see in the comments if there's a word that's anywhere near demonic or a curse word in that, they'll spot that first. They won't spot the other communication, which is a direct answer to your question, but it's not dramatic, and they miss it. They'll pick up the F words, the C words, and other name calling and demonic stuff like demon and Satan and all this kind of stuff. They'll spot that, but they'll miss the other communication, and maybe it's because the paranormal is connected with the negative, and people are looking for negative things, but and because they're looking for negative things, they miss the other stuff.
They look for negative things because it gets them more attention.
Mm,
That's why, Sam. You
yeah.
know, you have got to look at the psychological side of things as well as everything else. People love, and I know this sounds weird, but people actually enjoy getting scared,
Oh
and
yes.
that they love jump scares and they love shock value and stuff like that. And that is why if you put two videos up of, say, you did two separate ITC sessions, one you put, and you could put the same ITC session up, right, for both videos. But if you titled the one, say, ITC session today, and you put in the other one, Satan speaks in ITC session, I'll guarantee you which one of the two will get the most views.
Yeah. I mean, like I've got a history of ghost hunting, right?
Hmm.
I've got over twice as amount of subscribers as Annabella Cardoso has, and
Hmm.
Annabella Cardoso is renowned worldwide in ITC.
Hmm.
Yes, I've got over double the amount of subscribers. You know, that doesn't, the amount of subscribers doesn't indicate how good a person is. Because as far as I'm concerned, Annabella Cardoso is absolutely brilliant in ITC. She may disagree with my methods in that, but, she's a different way of going, a different way of doing things. But nobody's interested because it's not scary, you know? Walking around in the dark with a camera is kind of scary.
Yeah,
And I've been there, I've done that, and I'm going to
we've all
be
done it. We've
doing
all
the.
done it, Sam. We've all
Yeah,
done it.
oh, people walking around with night vision cameras, I love doing it myself. I don't get scared, but when you're looking at it on the screen, it's kind of creepy. And that's not what I want to put out there, but that's what people see, and that's why people watch that kind of thing, you know. A woman in her sitting in her little room that she puts her EVPs together or whatever, or talks about the history of ITC. Nobody gives a shit, which is kind of sad, you know.
Yeah, but that is the very nature of people. As much as people won't admit it, they get a thrill or a kink or a kick out of being frightened or being shocked or being scared. That is just part of human nature.
Mm.
I know another guy. He's an audio engineer, and he starts talking about resonance and other frequencies and loop methods and loop recordings and all sorts of highly technical talk and that. People, I don't understand what he's saying half the time, but I'm flipping fascinated. And I'm going, it's a flipping shame I don't understand it, but it's flipping cool. Other people say, what the flip's he talking about? Just talk to the spirits for flip's sake. That kind of way. And it's one of the reasons he's not growing as much on YouTube, even though he wants to do everything 100% correct. He wants everything to be 100%. There's no candles or flashy lights or anything like that. It's just the radio or the setup that he's doing. There's no table with the candles and the crystals and all that kind of stuff. I've done that myself. There's nothing wrong with that. But some of these people that want to do everything just bare bones, get the
Hmm.
communication, not interested. They want the
I
atmosphere.
I think for experimentation purposes, Seago has given us our title for next week. There's a demon in this spooky house. Real paranormal terror. See how many people we have come in.
No, I was going to. No, I wasn't. I was
Go
going
on,
to not
say
pol- poltergeist awaits.
it.
Is
Yeah.
that familiar? Yes. We got ourselves in a bit of trouble with that one.
Now you got to, what you've got to do, Julie, is do what they do nowadays and look into the future and put poltergeist attacks during live stream.
Yes, the poltergeist awaits one. I think both of us got into a bit of bother with that one. And we got ourselves into a lot of shit. And it was a pre-set up live stream. And I was going, I had a bee in my bonnet at that time, and nowadays I just ignore a lot of this kind of stuff and that. But I was fuming. I was going, how do you know there's a poltergeist there? Well, there was poltergeist in it before, like, so we're going in there hoping that maybe the poltergeist will do something for us and kind of thing. And I'm going, for fuck's sake. But yeah, we got publicly. I got. There was a big drama manifested itself from that, and I've had enough. I'm going to keep my mouth shut from now on, and anytime I see something like that, I just say I'm not interested anymore. Because sometimes I used to have a strong opinion on something, and I'd be there like, oh, this isn't good, and I would I would I would put my point across, and we end up in a big argument, and it ends up being a waste of time because you're not going to get anywhere there. Like, you know what I mean?
Brett, I've got a bone to pick with you. You got that all wrong.
What?
Okay. You can't see a poltergeist, you hear a poltergeist.
I've
Okay?
seen one.
A poltergeist is a noisy ghost.
I've seen one.
Well, you're just, special.
Special needs.
Special. Oh. Yeah, Clara. It's Clara. She's the poltergeist. Ready? Thumbnail. Haunted doll.
Yeah, you will have people in your comments that pay attention to everything you do, and will be genuine in responses to you. But there's other people there that they they're because of their mindset is paranormal, scary, and stuff like that. You're going to get comments in relation to that, and it's to me it's not really related to what I'm doing and that, and that's the difficulty with paranormal on YouTube and stuff like that. You're gonna get all these different things, you know.
Yeah. Right, I'm stuffing my face with a sausage roll at the moment. You have to ignore me. I'm peckish.
Oh, look, Brett, she's batting her
She is
eyelashes
burning.
for you.
That time you
Is
burned there.
is that an old doll?
Yeah, it's a 1950s walking doll.
It needs to
Yeah.
go in the log burner.
No.
Yeah.
She's going to come and haunt you tonight. You watch. Saying that you're going to burn her. Poor little thing. Me and Jackie Evelyn made her this little outfit. It's very,
Oh, cool.
very adorable. Tracy says, Dolly did it.
Very good.
Oh, I like that. Oh, she is beautiful.
But it's amazing how many people actually feed off each other when the negativity starts. And you can guarantee as soon as one starts
Oh,
claiming
Jack.
they've seen a demon or heard a demon, you'll get 10 other people just suddenly start claiming they've heard it as well, just to join on, jumping on the bandwagon. And then you get the rational half of your chat, people in chat just sitting there rolling their eyes and saying nothing.
Clara and Hazel are going well.
They're going into the
Hazel,
log burner, is how they're going.
Hazel, the dirty thing. I don't. I don't. Hazel's not like anything. She doesn't have spirits or anything else with her or anything like that. Nothing at all. And she's been there for ages and done absolutely nothing too.
You have a good night, Tracy.
Good night, Tracy.
Good night.
Need to do some. Yeah, I got to do editing too. I've been slack. I haven't done anything for a little while.
I haven't done anything outside in a while because I'm having work done on my car and that, but it's getting there. So
Have they
the
still got
last
it, Sam?
it's in and out. It's been in and out twice. I've got new suspension and stuff like that, and I can't sort of move it now because I have a ceramic coating that needs to harden. Uh, it's an alternative to polish and stuff. So I wanted to put this coating on for the winter, but I got the front end of the car done, but it just keeps raining and that, so I might have to wait until next spring to do it. But it needs a new spring at the front and that, but it's running, it's up and running now, and it's fine and that. But you know, when I want to go out for a little spin and that, the last thing I think about is bringing a camera because I've been through a lot and I just want to get out and relax and stuff. So I am not filming stuff at the moment, but I will get there. You know, it's on the positive side now. You know, there was a time there where the car was on. You know, it wasn't working and that I couldn't get out and that I can now, but I'm giving myself time and we'll be back out doing things soon, sort of thing. You know.
Sorry, I was just taking a puff on my vape. At least it's done now. That's the main thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of things still to be done. There's a new windscreen that has to be got for it, and the spring, and that, and some cosmetic stuff that has to be sort of sorted out. But you know, it's running. It's better than it was. But I've been down to the island a couple of times, and I brought my camera and that, and I go, I just want to walk on the beach. I just don't want to film. I wanted some me time and that. You know.
Yeah, it's good to do that sometimes too because I find I've gone to a few places and sometimes you get so into vlogging or filming that you miss out on everything that's going on around you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last time I went down to the beach, I went down collecting some white stones that I could polish when I get home. I didn't necessarily want to film that because, you got this. Yes, you do things naturally, but at the same time, you are aware that you're filming yourself as well. And sometimes you just want some me time, And that's what I took, you know? But it will get me out. It will get me, because there's nothing being uploaded, I have a pressure to at some stage go out and do something, which will get me out of the house. I'm changing my routine because I've been stuck in the house way too long. You know.
No, Julie, that out.
Brett's just let his stalking tendencies out of the bag. you in Melbourne, Beck? Are you Australian or overseas? I didn't even ask you before. I got to get to Melbourne one day. One day when I'm all alone and the world's gone cold.
Now, one of the people that died in the tragedy near me, there was 10 people. One of
Oh,
them
that'd be
actually,
awful, that was.
yeah, one of them was actually originally from Australia. You know, and I think it was Melbourne actually. But they were all sort of local people and that.
They said, I'm surprised somebody ain't been down there with the spirit box already, Sam, to be honest with you. I was waiting for
Our
something to pop up on the community.
we're in Ireland. It's not like that sort of thing. You know, it's still got a kind of a Catholic grip on the country kind of thing, and people I don't think would do that. I would go down, but last thing I'd be thinking about is ITC. I would go down and show the aftermath of what has happened,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't. Some people believe that there's a possibility you can get communications and stuff like that, and they want to do it in a genuine kind of way. The problem is there's so many that want to do this for clout and attention, and it just doesn't feel right, kind of thing.
The thing is, though, Sam, you've got to ask yourself, right? Say you were one of them people who died in that explosion. Or was it an explosion? It was, wasn't it?
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Would you want to be spending the rest of eternity hanging around that spot?
no,
This is
absolutely no
why I
way.
don't understand why people go to these areas where there's been like disasters and stuff to do stuff like that. Because
Yeah,
personally, if I was like a victim, I'd want to be back with my family, and it's believed you can go wherever you want to as a spirit. You wouldn't want to hang around the site of your death. Same reason
y-
you wouldn't want to hang around in a cemetery where your body's buried.
yeah. That's why you have a lot of the traditional ITC people that do it at home. They do the ITC at home. They don't go to location. But there is interesting communication in location, so I don't know the ins and outs of that. Obviously, time and space is completely different on this dimension to the dimension that we're communicating in.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't claim to fully understand it. I don't, because I can't see. I can't. And even information that you get, you can't put it down as gospel or evidence, because you don't see the communicator.
It's
So
it,
I
you
don't
know
know.
it's like this thing that certain people put forward that you can only the best time to communicate it with a dead person is 48 within 48 hours of the death, which flies in the face of the thousands of reports out there that people have had intelligent encounters with intelligent hauntings from hundreds of years back.
Yeah.
I heard the
Uh,
opposite.
You
I
heard that
know
you
that
can't talk to them for 2 days.
yeah, I know that people who do celebrity spirit box sessions and that go, oh, but this is the best time to do it. Whereas I've heard that, like, if you're going to communicate with them, it takes time for them to get to
Well,
where they're going,
if
the
you're
other
one of those
side.
types, it is the best time to do it because they're in the news at that time, so it's going to get you more clicks and views. That's the only reason why it's the best time to do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's what
can.
I'm saying,
While
according
they're
to
current
them.
news,
Yeah. You can come to your own kind of conclusion over time. What is best? What is best for you, kind of thing. Now there was a guy, Frederick Jurgensen, who was renowned in ITC way back years ago. The day that he was buried, there was this couple, the friends of Frederick Jurgensen. The wife got this impulse to look over at the television, to turn the television on, and she turned it on, and back then when you turned the television on, it kind of went staticky until you pressed the stations or whatever. And Frederick Jurgensen's face turned up on the television. He was at that time being buried, I think 150 miles away or something like that.
Hmm.
So a lot of people go by that evidence, but then again, you have a lot of people nowadays that won't actually look at that kind of history or anything like that.
Well,
You know?
look at the amount of people who've claimed that relatives have either come to them and told them that they've died, or people have actually had conversations with people a couple of days after they've died, not aware that they've actually died.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them.
Konstantin Radovic actually had a phone conversation with somebody that he knew after his death as well, which was kind. I've heard the audio. It's pretty strange.
But I just thought, since it's going to be a full moon, I thought I might go for a walk. So, going for a walk.
What are you looking at, Julie?
Oh, nothing. Sorry.
The
Well,
audio is bleeding through.
feel
Yeah.
free to direct your channel at any point.
Well, you're doing it for me, see? It's an easy one. No, I was just checking out Beck's video. You're on
What you on
fire
about?
tonight,
Putting
Brett.
shame on me.
Shame on you, Brett, because you went off at me. I'm
No,
sad.
it's on about me talking about Jack's comment where to put nothing like walking around a cemetery or the beach, and I'll put underneath in the nude.
Some people say that cemeteries are a scary place to go at night time. I find them one of the most peaceful places to
Yeah, I
be.
do. I do. There's very few cemeteries that I've ever been in where I haven't thought, it feels really calming in here. Very few.
Yeah. I find cemeteries and forests are easiest place to film at night time because when I'm using
Hmm.
the night vision doesn't actually see anything unless the light is bouncing off something. So if you're in an open space like a beach, I've tried it before, you don't see very much in front of you. But if you're in a forest, everything lights up because the light is just reflecting off all the trees, and in a cemetery, it's off all the gravestones and stuff.
And Seago says I generally associate them with resting places. Sorry, my mind's getting
I,
better.
I was in one of these cemeteries. I was.
Sorry,
What?
keeps going. Huh? Don't run. Slap, slap, slap.
I'm lost here.
We're talking about things hanging while you're on the beach. Oh,
You were making a couple of good points in that photograph, Julie.
That's just lovely.
I love that photo.
Oh.
That's why I kept it. Put your tongue back in, Sam.
Quite a lovely photo.
What river is that?
That's at the Adelong Gold Mill ruins.
It must have been warm. Oh, mind you,
Oh,
looking
it
at
was
that picture now,
summertime.
it was cold.
Oh no!
Oh,
I don't.
Brett.
I know where this is. I know where this is going.
That's what I said. I made a couple of good points in that photograph.
Oh God, no! Yeah, you've been there before. Yeah. I know where this is going.
I'm going to put my favourite one on now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think in regards to the Harry Potter actors, I think there were about 12 to 15 or something that they've lost now.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them passed away.
Mm, that, yeah, there is. What, that's your favourite one?
Now,
You're
hang on a minute.
thinking?
Jace is ringing
Oh,
for the shopping list. Back in a sec.
no, he's going off to reprimand you for putting that photo on.
Well, we were saying about cemeteries. I was in this cemetery. I didn't know much about it, and there was only a couple of crosses on this little. It was like a little park. It was grass and stuff like that. Apparently, a lady. I met a lady while I was there, and she says there's 250 bodies there. You know, and at one stage I decided, right, put down the EMF detectors and all this other stuff and just walk around with the night vision camera. And it's a 1990s camera, Sony camera, which the audio itself has a little bit of a hiss in it and that. And I'm just walking around, and this is late at night. There shouldn't be any human contamination of voices or anything like that. And I got a female voice whisper into the camera. It came up. It came up in this in the static, but it was a class A. It was. There was no way that it was mistaken for anything else. It was just help me. And I'm walking around the camera. I didn't spot it at the time, but it was picked up on the hiss in the camera. But it was a lot clearer, a lot louder than the actual hiss. But the little hiss, people say EVPs they don't like doing it because they can't get results. You need a little bit of noise, a little bit of noise. You know, just just for it to stick on to.
Yep.
What do you mean? Stop giving that Brett ammo to use, people. I don't need any encouragement.
No, the Kim said that.
Julie and Sam provide me with enough material. You're okay.
Do you know how long have I been using StreamYard? It's been quite a few years now, right?
Yeah, it's got to have been a couple of years, I'd have thought.
So
18 months, something like that.
I just accidentally by pressing a button figured out how to get rid of the chat on the side of StreamYard to make the screen bigger because I use the YouTube chat. Uh, so now the screen's just
There's a
us with no
there's a
chat
little
on the side.
yeah there's a little bit of delay between YouTube and StreamYard, so that's why I just stick with StreamYard, but I can't comment on StreamYard. I can verbally react to
Yeah, I
comment in the
wish I
chat.
wish that changed that so guests could actually type in the chat.
Yeah.
I do too. Who all from the show other than them three have passed? Um, the Malfoy mother. Um,
Fuck's sake.
that's one of my favorites. Hang on a second.
Hagrid's gone. Snape's gone. One of the students died, didn't they?
Oh yes, one of the young boys.
The guy who played the Ministry of Magic, he died. The Minister of Magic.
Yep.
I can't remember what his name was in the book. There's quite a few of them died now. Oh, the first Dumbledore died.
Yep.
StreamYard's what we're on now, Jack. It's
The
what we're
old
using to stream
man
now.
who the old
I'll
man
use
who
OBS.
interrupted um, Thingy when he was coming back to life. The old man that interrupted Voldemort in the house, the caretaker. He died.
Ollivander, John Hurt,
Yeah, the Ollivander fellow.
the woman who played back what is it, Bethy Backshot, the woman with the snake in the house
Oh,
who turned into
yes.
the snake. She died.
So Robbie Coltrane, Alan Rickman, who played Snape,
Snape, yeah.
the the uncle of Harry Potter, he died.
Oh, I forgot
Richard
he
Griffith.
died. Yeah,
Yeah. The Dumbledore, the first Dumbledore. Helen McCrory, which was Mrs. Malfoy.
yeah.
She had cancer. Vern Troyer, who played the little dwarf that helped them get the sword and that.
I like how none of us can remember the names of these characters.
I know.
I I was went through a period of being in in the Christian community. I'm not saying just Catholic community. I mean these other Christian groups and that. And I've heard so many times of pastors preaching that the Harry Potter films were demonic
Oh
because of
yeah,
witchcraft and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and
There's
they've
been some
actually
right. There's been some
and
right problems about Harry Potter being like satanic and stuff. It's like get a grip.
yeah, and then there was an. I mean, like this is ridiculous. It's tinfoil hat stuff. Monster drinks. It's demonic as well
Why? Because it's called
because
Monster.
no, because of the three scratches on the logo.
Jesus Christ.
Then the conspiracy theory goes in. Well, there's baby's DNA and shit like that in the drink and all this kind of stuff, which is complete and utter. It's nonsense. But some of these people get caught up in conspiracy theories, and their imagination runs away with them. Like,
Oh God, yeah, no doubt about it.
yeah, but Harry Potter was a big one that the pastors they were constantly talking about Harry Potter that you shouldn't watch it because you know it's witchcraft or witchcraft is evil and blah blah blah. You know, it's,
It's because it's got the magic in it. That's why.
yeah,
Which, if you think about it, Jesus supposedly walked on water, turned water into wine, rose from the dead. Jesus is a
Witchcraft.
necromancer.
yeah,
Yep.
He's a bit hypocritical.
yep.
Yep, Group Hook and the fat lady from the painting, the first one. Her too.
Oh, did she die? The first fat lady.
Yeah.
I wondered why Dawn French took over a part.
Yeah, that's why they had to replace her.
All right. And the one who played Moaning Myrtle in the bathroom.
Hmm.
She was in her 30s when she did that character.
Yeah. Yep. She was in another movie too, and it was quite a famous movie. I want to say The Devil Wears Prada, but I don't think it was that. I think it was something else. And I didn't even recognise her till after I'd put two and two together, heard the
Hmm.
voice. My goodness. People, what are you doing? Let me go back. Who's using infinite ammo cheat codes? Someone. Didn't know all these blocks were running.
Desmond.
Desmond improves your performance. Perform how, Brett says.
Have you read what Seago put?
Yeah,
I drink those monsters before
Yeah.
I perform.
I know,
that's
I
what
just
I'm
read
laughing.
that.
Yeah.
Trust me, my mind went to that too. Beck says, so do you all believe in past lives? I do.
I do. Yeah, I do. I do believe that we come back time and time again.
Yep.
And I believe that those who remember them for a reason. They come back remembering for a reason.
I
There's
I
some lesson
go
in it for them.
I go with the theory that people reincarnate only under certain circumstances when there's no other choice.
Let me ask you something, and
What do you
everyone
mean
in
no other?
chat.
Hang on, Julie. I want. Hang on. Can I just? What
Okay.
do you mean by no other choice, Sam?
Where the death was a natural kind of thing.
So you think they come back to live the rest of the life
Yeah,
that they should have had? Do you think that's why? See, because I've heard that theory. When you get like kids who get cancer and pass away and stuff like that. And one of the theories I heard that certain people die young is because they died too young in a previous life, and they've come back in this life to finish it off. And then I'll sit there and think, well, that's a bit of a double whammy, isn't it? That's
yeah.
a bit of a double negative to think that way. That not only do you live a short life once, you're forced to do it twice because the first time it was too short.
Um, well, I kind of go with the evidence that a lot of these cases are all under traumatic circumstances. You know,
And you think that triggers them to come back.
possibly, yeah.
That's an interesting theory, actually.
Well, I go with the sort of theory that there's multiple levels of existence. When you pass away, you go into a lower level of existence. You can communicate with that lower level of existence, but when they proceed to a higher level of existence, you cannot communicate with them.
Hmm.
This is one of the theories,
See, I
but in
believe I
certain
believe something similar. I believe you go up in levels, but I believe you keep coming back here to go up them levels. And this is why they say of some people, oh, that person's got an old soul, and I believe that is literally true because you get kids sometimes who you talk to them and you think, Jesus Christ, they know, they're on a mental level of a 40-year-old. They're just so worldly wise at that age, and it's like they've experienced everything at a very young age, and people say, oh, they've got an old soul, and that's what I believe it is. Is you come
well,
back and you come back and you come back to learn different things, and the more you learn, the higher up the tree you go until eventually you've learned everything you need to know, and then there's no need to come back. That's what I believe.
maybe it's beyond our understanding right now. But when you have a birth and you have a personality and stuff like that, could it be possible that that personality came from another energy?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Births. You're born with and you become an individual person. That people say spirits. When you're on this earth, you're in a container. Your physical body, but your actual most important being is your soul, your spirit. But when someone's born, could it be a possibility that these energies, these souls, constantly go into
Well, here's
rebirths?
a question for both of you. At what point do you believe the soul activates in the body?
What you mean, like whether it's in the womb or when we're born or
Yeah.
whatever?
At what point do you believe a soul becomes active in a body?
That's a difficult one.
It is a difficult one. I can't answer that with complete honesty. I can only answer it with stories that I have heard
Now, I know
because
about. I'm asking you for your personal belief,
yeah, I really don't know. Not from my own personal belief.
Sam.
I, I honestly don't know either. It could be some process, some period of time within the womb where the fetus has some sort of conscious, I don't know. You know, somebody with a biological degree or whatever would have a better understanding than we have, possibly.
Yeah, but that's looking at it from a scientific view, not from a.
Well,
Yeah,
we can't remember back that far. I mean, I can't remember back when I was
There
a
are
year
people who
old.
claim to remember things in the womb. There are
Yeah,
people who
they
claim to
claim.
remember being born.
Mm.
I personally believe that the soul attaches to the body at the moment of conception.
possibly. Yeah.
I don't think I don't think it goes into the body, but like people who say, they've got watches that are haunted. I think that is exactly the same with souls. At the moment life is created, that is when the allocated soul attaches to that body.
I believe that when we're wherever we go, that if we're going to come back, we have a soul agreement and we know we're going to come back. But as you said, when do we enter the body? I have no idea. But I
See,
do know.
Kim and Jack say conception, like me, but I genuinely do
Mm,
believe that is when it occurs. At the moment of conception, that is when the soul is assigned to that body.
mm, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, Jack.
It's a fascinating area to try and get an understanding of, which we'll probably never
It's
get
an
to the.
interesting question to ask people because everybody
Mm,
you ask normally has a different answer to it.
yeah.
A lot of people say, "Oh, it's when they take the first breath," and blah 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 blah. But personally, I believe it actually happens at the moment of conception. I think the soul allocates its body the second that there is a body there to allocate, and two cells combining and forming life is technically a
It,
body.
it depends on the way that you look at it. If you're talking about when the soul actually attaches itself to the body and to become one,
Hmm.
then you could have different answers. If you're talking about when your soul is assigned to that body, then of course it would be conception.
No, I think it attaches at conception as well.
What, to become one?
Yeah, at the moment of conception.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
This is probably possibly the reason why religion gets so involved in sex. You know,
Yeah,
as in,
I ain't looking at it from a religious point of view in any way, shape, or form. You know
I
yeah,
me and
but
know
religion.
yeah, but there is possibly a
Oh
link
yeah,
there.
yeah.
they're having that debate at the moment in the US with the abortion laws and all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly, Jack.
Well,
He said end abortion. All right, I'm gonna end this. I think because I have to get up early in the morning anyway. Thank you both for coming on and joining us this evening. We had a very good conversation yet again.
thank you for having us on.
Thank you very much for having us on. It's always good to have these conversations every so often and that, and I do look forward to Saturday mornings
It's
here in
always
Yeah,
fun.
Ireland. You
me
know,
too. It's our highlight of the week.
I ate them.
What? Ah, where's that kick button? I'm joking. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Thank you to Sam and Brett as well. And
Thank you for being in the chat, everybody.
thank you
You
very
are what
much.
make it in you know.
Absolutely.
absolutely, definitely. If you have some time and you want something to do, you can always go on over to Urban Wildlife UK and watch the birdies and
Watch the
things while you're at it
birdies.
as well. Yep, exactly. But otherwise, we will see you guys next week at the same time. And you're welcome, Jack. Bye, everyone.
Bye
Bye.
all.